Why do we fight? To protect home and family. To preserve balance and bring harmony. For our kind, the true question is, what is worth fighting for? The Fight is All podcast.
Hi, and thank you for tuning into the Fight is All podcast. I recorded this episode after the MMF coaching course in Bulgaria, organized by Bulgarian Mixed Martial Arts Federation on 19-20 of October 2024. In this episode, I talk with the coach of the coaches, the director of development at the International Mixed Martial Arts Federation. Andrey Moshanov has 30 plus years of experience in the international sport, first as coach and then as manager, and his main work being National Federation's development. This includes design for their needs and launch coach education systems, periodical lecturing in the University of Coach and Sports Training Science. Andrey is former head of development of International SAMBO Federation FIAS for 11 years. He is also former technical director of British Judo Association for 5 years, former sports director of Russian Judo Federation for 4 years. He is doctor from Moscow State University of Physical Culture with PhD in sports training science. He is honorary lifelong national coach in judo police sports in United Kingdom. He has honors for coaching for Russia from the Ministry of Sport in 1990, given to a coach who personally produced double world champion. He is also 6th dan in judo. In this episode, we cover what left unsaid on the coaching course in Stara Zagora, Bulgaria, relations of Sambo Judo in the MMA sport, situational training for combat sports, IMF technical progression grading system, and upcoming new projects from IMF for developing the MMA sport. You can contact Andrey Moshanov and his links in the description. This episode is brought to you by our sponsors, Slatko и Здравословно, Twins Cash, and Arno Foods Bulgaria. I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I did.
In this coaching seminar, what would you add to what you already told us?
Right. So first of all, in my opinion, there was a very successful seminar. What we managed to achieve was we brought everybody on the same page, on the same wave. I think coaches became more open, and we start sharing some ideas. Obviously, I do believe I shared them probably the most, but I also always encouraged the coaches to share their bits.
Was expected.
Yes, I also would love to see that coaches would share their own little secrets, call them as secrets, and they did. Some of them really did. So if really we had a couple more time to spend together, I'm sure all of them will become most open, because that block will go away and we will start really sharing. That's the whole objective of this coaching course. It's hard to imagine that at such level, when your coach is already producing continental champions and medalists and world medalists and champions, it's hard to expect that someone come and teach you and light you how to do low kick or high kick or spinning kick. No, it's very difficult. Coaches know that for sure. What really, in my opinion, where really the secret of coaching and the art of coaching lies is the methodology. You can apply even the sequence of exercises in one order. One coach would apply them in one order, another coach will apply them in a different order, and that both combinations of drills will produce slightly different results, which again will be applied and should be best applied to certain types of athletes. And that's again altogether, it's so complex topics. It is so complicated and complex topics, and if we would stay longer together, we would really go deeper and deeper in these details, because I believe the secret of coaching lies exactly here in these little details.
Something that you shared with us was this list of breakdown of basic MMA skills, which was quite a few. We work over them with the coaches, and I think that kind of relates to what you just said, that I imagine, and that's the way I try to apply it, is good coaching have to kind of cover all these topics in, of course, like I imagine every coach is doing this in his own way, but in the same time to put the mastery of it, as we already spoke with you on the seminar, is how to put this together. And of course that has many variations, but I think in the end of the day that kind of comes down to so first you have to find a way to cover all these topics, and then have come to the specifics, how you actually gonna put them into a training week, because I don't know what was the number, but it was quite a few. I think at least 20-ish or something like that.
22 coaches were the course.
Yes, but how many was the subjects?
Right.
The elements of MMA, the way you apply.
11. So if we look at all skills of MMA, we can identify 11 major blocks. 11 major blocks. That's how we in International Amateur World Federation think. That's how it's our concept. The Coaching Commission was talking and discussing a lot on that subject, and in parallel, UFC, Performance Institute, has the same template, which means that obviously we think the same, and there's no difference, and it's very difficult to invent something new. So these major 11 areas of skills cover everything which happens, which we see in MMA fight, in MMA competition. The reason is very simple, because mixed martial arts as a discipline, as a sports, obviously independent discipline in its own right, is made of several combat sports. They are grappling sports, they're striking sports, and proficiency, the skills which these sports are made of now are merged or combined in one discipline, and that actually requires from the coach to be proficient in everything. You cannot carry on. Maybe in the early days of MMA, you can come from with, let's say, like Oleg Takhtarov, from Sambo experience and clean everybody's swipe with a leg lock, or you will come from striking background and swipe somebody clean with knockout. Yeah, it's not the case anymore. You need to be equally proficient now in striking and grappling. Plus, we have another area which is a ground and pound, very specific for this game, and we have a fence wrestling. So this altogether really sets the direction where every coach should evolve himself and develop himself. In the course, we're talking about the background. We all have, as a coaches, we all have background. And I would take figures slightly loose, but roughly 60% of coaches are coming from wrestling or grappling background, coaches working currently in MMA. I would say 35 probably coming from striking, and almost just 5% are coaches who started teaching MMA from day one, not having any background. So we have a clash of three mentalities. Literally, we have a clash of three mentalities.
Well, of course, this was group of coaches. They actually are younger than us, because these are the guys that was trained in MMA. They started MMA. So I think they will get growing more and more, but for the moment they're actually the young coaches that actually get into the field of coaching. We had some discussions with the other coaches speaking about that relation about the backgrounds, and I want to ask what's your view on this. Obviously, MMA is heavily grappling influenced as a sport, while striking sports are like, let's say, there are less coaches with striking background. In the same time, I personally find this, also the other coaches that we spoke with, we find that, for example, UFC, they're trying to promote striking because obviously that's easier to sell. And now us being in IMF and in the amateur sport, most of the time working in statistics, because I have been on a couple of world and European championships, and as an engineer, I like statistics, I like numbers because they don't lie, and I always keep statistics that I can withdraw from Smoothcom or before that from the other platform. The thing is, majority of the fights I win by some way of grappling in IMF, in amateur sport, which I personally find is more pure form of MMA, because we're not trying to impress public, we're trying to win matches. But in the same time, the professional sport is doing the other thing. They're trying to push strikers because they're easier to sell, because obviously average fan, they don't like grappling. It's not a secret that even UFC, they're trying to avoid signing up contracts with wrestlers. They always boot. For example, recently the fight of my brain is fried. Merab.
Merab. Mm-hmm.
Oh, he was heavily booed. Yeah. I even see comments which are obviously ridiculous and like piss me off big time. To remove wrestling from MMA, and what the heck you're talking about? Yeah. The thing is, what's your view on that discrepancy that happens between professional sport and the amateur sport?
Well, as you rightfully said, professional sport is driven by business model. You're so right. It's driven by a business model, which means what is more understandable and more sellable to the general public is, of course, striking. Everybody understands what is a strike. You knock out somebody, he falls, everything is clear. In wrestling, you need to switch on your brains to start to analyzing what's happening with these two guys wrestling on the ground. What's happening? Who is dominating? Who is changing the position? How he's controlling? That's a different level of thinking, and of course that causes the trouble. But as a sport, we're still not recognized sport, but hopefully we will be very soon granted that recognition. As a sport, we are driven by slightly different angle or prerogatives or interests. We need to establish the sporting model where there are several ways of winning, and we should not be giving preference to one or the other. We need to make sure that both ways are possible.
And that's the beauty of the sport, which is the pure form of martial art, the way you win by your way.
Actually, that's how it started. Mixed martial arts started as a challenge. Who is stronger, karate man or wrestling man? Whoever, Sambo man, like Alek, as I mentioned, Alek Takhtarov, or somebody else. That was challenge fights. Challenge. That was an intrigue. Who is, which style is better? And what was the answer? All styles are good. All styles are good enough to live together in some kind of a form of a model, which none of them has clear preference, and people with various background or with various preferences to one or the other style can dominate if they choose the right tactics. And that's another level of interest which general public should appreciate. It's the battle of tactics. It's a battle of tactics. I think that's the most interesting thing.
I also think that maybe, I don't know if UFC is interested in that, but IMF might be. I believe that maybe the key to that is to educate the public more than to try to excite them. I think personally, yesterday, after we finished the seminar, I was quite tired, as you know, but my athlete who came on the seminar, who is also Sambo and combat Sambo coach in my gym, he wanted very, very hard to go to watch. There was a fight night there. Actually, the fight night was quite good. It was very even fights, which is rare. Almost all of them finished by time, but there was very good exchange, and that all the athletes could compete there to showcase their skills. So for me as a coach, I know I'm not looking MMA the way the average fan does, but the thing is, it's here in Bulgaria, the public is a bit different, and we're lucky with that, because here the public is majority of people who actually train combat sports. Yeah. So I was surprised the public was actually very well educated. They was actually appreciating the skill more than finishes, because there was just few finishes on that fight night. Most of the fights they actually ended up by decision. But the public apparently, which was surprising to me because I don't often go to Bulgarian fight nights because I'm quite busy, but they actually appreciate, that they actually saw hard fights, the guys who give them all and ended, which is rare. But worldwide, it's not like that. When I was in Australia, I was as part of federation. Once I went by myself, and once of part of the Australian Federation, we was on this fight night that Israel Adesanya fought Robert Whittaker. It's quite different. The people who watch MMA Day is not the guys who train, the guys who drink beer and want to see someone hurt, which apparently is driving the sport in not the best direction. But in this sense, you mentioned something that's very interesting, that IMF is planning to make like a professional league. And do you think, or maybe if you have overview on that, do you think that they will approach the sport different from UFC in a way, not pushing certain style that's attractive, or trying to push it into the professional field as a bit more as purist way to look at the sport?
Not sure yet, because this
I know that's just a project,
pilot,
but that's what come to my mind.
It's under discussion. For us, it's, I think, more a platform, a chance for the guys for amateur guys to try themselves in the new professional format and have a chance to come back. That's most important. If they're not successful, we all now that we have a watchdog who is policing the records of all participants of amateur world or continental championship. And if you have a pro record, you're not allowed. What we're trying to say, we're trying to create that a special platform where you can try yourself under supervision of our referees, under certain very strict terms and conditions. You will be given, let's say, 3 fights. I'm just not saying it's going to happen. It's one of the projects, the way we think. The guys need to be given a chance. Okay, these are 3 opportunities for you, 3 fights in this IMAF Pro platform. And then let's see, or let's decide. You win 1 fight and lost 2. What's your decision? What are you going to do? Most likely, I would say you can be invited back because you haven't achieved anything in that. You haven't achieved. Or another scenario, you win 1 fight, you lost 1 fight, you win the 3rd one. What's your decision? It's totally up to you. Looks like you're going to be successful. Okay, here you go. You can be signed by any promotion and start your pro career. So if you lost 1 fight, lost 2nd fight, maybe there's no even need for the 3rd fight. So it will be a kind of a platform, giving the opportunity to our top amateur athletes to decide what's their way forward, what they want to do. It's still under heavy discussion. And I don't think there's enough room here to push one or the other style, okay, like push them really to be more wrestlers or more strikers. I don't think this platform will be slightly about different. But well, at least that's our thinking. That's what we want to do.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's very interesting, because I had this problem before. My team actually in Bulgaria is the 2nd MMA team at all. So I had this problem before. That was even before IMF started as an organization. So when I produced my first professional fighters, I had this problem that while I was keeping the amateurs, they was quite active. They was fighting quite regularly, at least. Well, at that time we fought quite often, at least every other month, because there was no federation, but there was a lot of local amateur competitions almost every other month. There was another one, so we even didn't need to bring the guys to compete in grappling, because there was enough amateur MMA competition almost every other month. So you have to choose. I want to do this one. No, don't doing this one. So they was growing very fast because they have a lot of room to practice and to apply their skills. So let's say after they became champion couple of times, and we decided not to push them into pro, or they decided and never push anyone into changing from amateur to pro. But what happens from there? So So let's say in that way, so they was making at least 6 competition. Let's say that's 2-3 fights. They was making like 20 plus fights on a year. But in the moment they turn pro, because they're good guys, it's very hard to find them opponents, because nobody wants to fight this guy because it's going to be a hard fight. So what happens with those guys that initially turn pro from my team is I had hard time finding the fights, or I had to finance the fights myself to bring someone to fight with them, but to pay by myself. And at the same time, from 20 fights a year, so they hardly make 2 fights a year. So because of their level engagement, you see how their progress, starts, to decline instead of, keep going in upper curve. So that was one problem in this like free market of professional fighting, because if you're good, you actually have hard time finding fights. So hopefully we'll see what will be, how they will structure it. But that's very interesting even as transition, to make this gap between amateur and professional to be realized for the guys. You mentioned Sambo, and I'm heavily biased because I come from combat Sambo background. That's one of my biggest achievements as an athlete, and of course I love the sport, and I know you do. So just a little like side quest, how you see Sambo now applied in IMF? Obviously combat Sambo is very close with, I would say, with a few differences on high level. If you have to decide you're going to be combat samboist or MMA guy. But no, just to make this like a side discussion about how you see Sambo, and also because first time when I met you in Mexico. I don't know if you remember when I was actually established in federation. I was invited there as European champion to help them with combat Sambo. So you have big overview over the both sports, and obviously there was quite a few stars that come from Sambo background. But now in present day, when MMA is like separated as a sport, it's not just people come from somewhere. How do you see that relation between those both sports? Provided that, provided that now there's a bit weird situation that Russian team is not allowed to compete international, which I think is crazy unfair, because sports supposed to be above those things. But anyways, how do you see that relation between both sports?
Let me tell you the big secret. When I was working from 2011 to 2017 as a head of development of International Sambo Federation, one of my points on my program was, let's make let's make MMA ally to combat Sambo, because they're so different. It could be cooperation of agreement, it could be memorandum of understanding, whatever. But these two forms of combat needed to exist together. Sambo, as you know, by 2017, I was part of the team who made it Olympic sport. If we would have close collaboration with MMA at that time, I believe MMA already was recognized as a sport on the back of combat Sambo, and these two disciplines will live happily together. Why not? So the only difference is a jacket.
Well, there's example like that, like gi and no gi grappling.
That's
they both grow together.
Exactly, like gi, no gi, same. MMA in gi, MMA in no gi. That's it. Well, let's leave aside the scoring system. It could be easily realigned together. It could be. So I think these two forms of combat art are very, well, if not identical, they're very close. I would better say identical, because at the end of the day, if you look, striking is the same. What's the difference? Grappling, way of grappling. Yes, you have a jacket. You have one form of taking person out of balance. You don't have jacket. Like in Greco-Roman or freestyle, you have another way of taking person out of balance, obviously leading to takedown. If you cannot invent another set of Newton laws, no, biomechanics is the same. If you want to take somebody down or throw, in our words, it's still the same mechanics. So the difference is little. How you grip, how you make a grip. In Sambo, it's one way of gripping. In MMA, and obviously in wrestling and Greco-Roman and freestyle is another. It's a tighter grip, but mechanics is the same. That's what my point is. If you understand mechanics, you can easily switch from one to another.
Oh, there's something else related to that. That's what you just said. That obviously in my team I had a lot of guys who like cross training, and I mentioned that guys who do like stand-up gi grappling, kind of judo or sambo, they actually are the guys who make throws into MMA rule set.
Yeah.
Because for some reason, when they train with gi or with kurka, they figure out the ways to off-balance better opponents, which gives them chance to make these more complicated, bigger throws.
Agree.
And even if we look at the world stage, the bigger throwers in MMA are actually guys who come from
either judo or sambo.
Yeah,
correct.
Fedor. Yeah. Now Kyle Harrison is doing very successfully in MMA, coming from high-level judo background. Caro Parisian, who was back in the days, he was also a big thrower. So in a way, and I mentioned that with the guys who train from scratch with us, with the MMA team or the Sambo team, is that the guys who train more wrestling-based style of takedown game, so normally they excel in the first 2 years. They always beat the judo and sambo guys. Okay, majority of the case.
Right.
But after 2 years, for some reason, the judo and sambo guys start to overplay them, because judo and sambo game in stand-up is more complicated in general speaking. Not like wrestling cannot be complicated, but in general speaking, they become better in off-balancing, which is big part of the gi game, and then they start always beating wrestling-based guys. For example, I have a guy who is one of the champs I'm proud with. He became the first Bulgarian who competed in Polaris as a professional grappler. And it happens, he's my guy, and he very heavily wanted to become MMA champion, but he has very weak nose. He was bleeding a lot. And every time when he was competing, I was warning the judge, don't stop him. He just bleeds a lot, but it's okay. He had this disability, with weak capillars, I think.
Capillars, yeah.
And he was always bleeding. It was just you touch his nose and he started bleeding. So he tried a lot. He trained very hard, and he decided, to go on the grappling side. Yeah. He comes from a judo family. His mother is very good judoka, and there are 3 brothers. They all train judo from 4 years of age. And joke aside, his favorite opponents was wrestlers. Because he said, I know what they're doing. They're doing the same thing.
Exactly.
He was throwing them. And when I trained with him, I was a young coach and I was still competing. Then I figured out the way he's doing, he's making the transition between his gi game and no gi game. He's using over and under hooks, but that allows him to play more upright, which allows him to strike better. So on my side, I start stealing that because I like to strike. So I start stealing that game for myself because that allows me to strike better. I don't need to change level and to stay well. So the thing is, there room for cross training in that, because I mentioned by my own work that guys who train like stand-up grappling with gi, they become better takedown artists.
100%. Let's analyze the difference between Greco-Roman, Sambo, and Judo. I used to cross-train between 3 of all of them. Very little in Greco-Roman, but between Sambo and Judo, it was a common in Soviet Union. We cross-train every day. Maybe, one train.
He was common like that. Yeah. You train Sambo, you do Judo.
Yeah, but look at that. Judo, you have the loosest grip and longest grip, right? Sambo, it's becoming, grip is shorter, because wherever you grab the jacket, you have control, because it's tailored. Judogi is very loose. You need to apply certain way of gripping to make it tight. And then Greco-Roman or MMA. So MMA or Greco-Roman, it's very tight sport, right? Then Sambo has already a little bit of more distance, and Judo even more distance. So what these forms of martial arts bring into the game, into unbalancing dynamics. If you learn from Judo and Samba dynamics, how to take opponent off the balance, you can do it in gi and without gi. Unfortunately, the guys who train all their life in a close contact, they are slightly less skilled in that game of taking off the balance the opponent. They can grab and throw. Yeah, very good and very nice and very powerful. But when it comes to dynamics, when it comes to moving, running, or following the athlete, that guys will become better. So cross training is very important. And as you rightfully said, once you realize one of your advantages is dynamics, you stop being crouched. You're becoming more upright, and that gives you another opportunity to seriously upgrade your striking skills. So for me, that's that's actually a very good circle. That's a very good circle. You learn from that style how to bring more dynamics in MMA. That would immediately have effect on your striking game. So that's the way I think. Absolutely. So coming back, we should be together. I'm not saying in one organization, but in one concept. I think we are in one concept already. Concept is, if you want to unbalance and take down somebody, it doesn't matter. You have gi, you don't have gi, or you have a judo gi, or you have samba kurtka, or you don't have anything. Physical laws or biomechanical laws are the same. Just a matter which you are more proficient in, doing it without dynamics or with dynamics, and that will change the style in due course.
Obviously, it changes style. You can see the guy who is coming from such background. On the course, especially today, which because of the way it was organized was a bit short as exposure. So one of the things you mentioned, at least what I took from it, is the conditional sparring and situational training. Something from my experience as a competitor. So we was doing when I was because I was in 3 national teams. I was in K1 national team in Bulgaria, combat sambo national team in Bulgaria, and Sando national team in Bulgaria, which I was happy because I have a lot of competition. So I have like 3 Balkans, 3 Europeans, 3 Worlds for a year. The thing is, in Kickboxing Federation was at that time working very good, and every year we had at least one camp with Belarusian national team. That's where I met Jabara Skewer, because we were the same category, so we always part together. We have quite a few like gym wars, because he comes on my grounds and I'm champion here, but he was quite good. So we start slightly and then it turns to a fight. But we became friends. We see each other a couple times. The thing is, what I mentioned from these guys, Belarusian team at that time, that's why they was always inviting them here to do camps. It was team of world champions. Each guy in the team, I never seen that before. At least at that time, each guy in the team was at least. Okay. So the thing is, there was very high level, very good fighters and very good coaches. And of course, in that situation, like the situation we do, like I'm doing this course at least, I think, 4th time now. So you try to steal for them. And something that I saw them, when they're off season, they have like, they don't have competition, so they almost don't spar. So we was training with them. We have rarely spar. We have once a week, or even like one sparring day at 2 weeks. And most of our training with them was actually conditional sparring. So you can always strike with your right hand, for example. Or you can only strike with your hook. Or you can only always like that, but was never like
full sparring, never full sparring.
Not never, but rarely.
Yeah.
Especially the way we trained in my team here, we sparred regularly. We spar almost every day, or at least twice a week. These guys didn't spar so much, but they always had these like game trainings. So on their camps, for me, I went to their camps because we didn't spar so much. Was easy on my head, because in my team at that time, which I find now as a coach, I learned that this old style of training was not the best one. Every sparring day was a war, and actually I have competitions that are easier than sparring days, because sparring days there are no weight classes. We just spar the whole team. And I was competing on 68 and 71, and like guys who are like over 80, they're hard, and they're also national champions, and yes, probably those guys, but it's hard. And at that time, the mentality was that you try to kill each other on sparring, which is quite stupid now. The combat science, the sports science, combat sport, like throw this away big time now. But at that time, nobody knew, and you just try to fight your best, and it was very hard to excel. And on these camps, actually, you train white. Of course, you do all the conditioning and stuff, but you don't get punched in the head so much. Yeah. So that's when I met that style of training. Probably that comes from Russian school, I imagine, because Belarus and Bulgaria and Russia was always like in cooperation. But I just wanted to dive a bit deeper into that style of training.
Yes, it's very common in Russia, but I don't think it's a very Russian invention. I think every thinking coach would sooner or later come to this form of training. He will come to this form of training. First of all, everybody has a game plan, few strategies, right, which involve certain technical chains of technical actions. You need to drill them, first of all. You need to practice them as the sequence, first of all. If you too soon or too often throw yourself in a sparring, sparring is like, I don't know, it's like, sparring has too many options. And remember, when you spar with somebody, the common tactics, nobody go in open fight, in exchange of punches or exchange of takedowns or exchange of open wrestling. No, the common tactic for most of the people is to nullify. You know what I look at you. What I try to do, I will stop you from doing your best technique first, and then we see where we're going. Then we see where we're going. So I block your best things. I exclude them by position, by moving, by blocking, by running away from you. And then I have a chance to apply my skills. So it's literally becoming as a chess. Where is here the room for a sufficient number of repetitions of your favorite chain of actions? That's why we firmly stay on that ground, on that idea. We need to shorten the situation to really one or two possible options in, okay, you do some action, I respond, you do another, and then I have two options, one or the other. So we set the condition where we minimize the option and put both athletes in that condition and drill 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. So it means it's more concentrated, more effective usage of time. We work exactly on that options. Imagine if I throw in a sparring for 5 minutes, how many times would you even apply your favorite technique? What's the chance? In 5 minutes, okay, no, 10 times, because your partner will be blocking you. He will be applying different tactics. It's a free sparring, right? As I said, unless it's not really the task is really to go and exchange with punches or exchange with wrestling skills. No, most of the people are playing tactics. In 5 minutes, what's the effectiveness of your learning, of your training? Or situational training, only in this situation, only using this or that technique for 5 minutes. Well, it times more. You increase effectiveness times more in building that chain of actions, which is part of your later part of your gaming plan. So that's the idea of situational training. And then, as a coach, obviously you decide. You need to look at and design, analyze first of all. This is the fight of your athlete. This is a common fight. This is what's happening at his standing, where his standing game leads him. For example, his athlete, his opponent going for double. What is normally your response? One type of defense or the other type? It's starting like a tree. It's like endless tree with many, many branches. And you need to identify several chains which are more suitable for your athlete and start drilling them in that close situation. That's how we work.
As a blueprint.
That's how we work.
Well,
and of course, then after of course, you offer them a free a sparring, of course.
Well, my personal theory about that is I actually stole a term for myself from mechanics, which is degrees of freedom. And the way I understand for myself is actually every combat sports comes principally to this game. You're trying to limit the degrees of freedom for your opponent. That's the art of fighting. Because if we both standing, square with hands apart, we have like infinite degrees of freedom. We can do everything to each other. And every tactical movement from there on, which is the mastery of martial arts, takes degrees of freedom for your opponent. So if you make a fight stance, okay, you take degrees of freedom, so you cover certain vital areas to attack. So now degrees of freedom for your opponent are less. If you clinch him, even less. If you put him on the ground, even less. So that's the way I see it is the mastery of fighting comes to that, to take the degrees of freedom of your opponent and give yourself more degrees of freedom from him in a certain situation. So I think that in that way this covers my idea about
Yeah, well, I'm agree with you. Well, I would say this way: if we both have 10 degrees in theory, my objective will be limit you to as small as possible, maybe to 1 or 2, and leave much more for me. Degrees of freedom 3, 4, 5. Then I have advantage. I will win.
Yes,
I will win.
Then statistically, your chance, speaking about numbers, chance of winning comes on the side of the guy who has more degrees of freedom. Then, and actually, at the end of the day, the fight is about that too, because fight is chaotic by nature, but mastery of fighting is bringing it to order. So we have this saying, when an engineer comes home, he takes rest from putting order in the work whole day. And then, normally that's why your bed is always a mess. At least that's my excuse to my wife. But
But you're very right. It's called algorithm. Algorithm of fight exists. I did a lot of research in my time in Sambo and Judo. These two sports has algorithm of fighting. Algorithm is something which is repeating series by series. For example, whistle, hajime, or beginning, start. Okay, what's distance, grip, some movement in a grip, off the balance, attempt of attack, both goes down, attempt of groundwork, submission or choke, stop or mate. If they stand up, they come back. And again, this is algorithm. Ideally full algorithm. Of course it may stop on any one, but it's clear algorithm. And again, and again, and again. So statistics saying that in Judo, for example, and in Sambo, we have this between 10 and 18 intervals of repeated algorithm. During 4 minutes, you will have between 10, depending on the length, of course, of each phase. But it is repeated algorithm. When it's algorithm, it's easier to train. Now go back to MMA. Is there algorithm? No. There's no algorithm. No. Because nothing forces you to follow that algorithm. So, okay, standing, a bit of fighting, a bit of clinching, takedown, and some groundwork. It may come up with absolutely different order. And that's why it's so difficult sport. And it's against all laws and traditions and even methodology. Concepts, I mean fighting concepts, as it is in Judo or Sambo or even in wrestling. And that's what makes it even more exciting to understand.
Because there are different formulas that can bring to...
Formulas are different. Formulas how to win is different.
Yeah. So speaking about formulas, I want to bring the conversation back to methodology and systemizing, structuring a training plan. And as I know, you was involved in building quite a few world champions.
Yeah.
So something that every coach dreams for and thinks about. What would be, as of course that's generally speaking, because you cannot put this in 10 minutes, but what would be a formula in building a champion from, so a person comes to the gym to becoming a world champion?
Very difficult question.
Of course difficult that stretch through years, but if you can summarize it in in that little time. So
individual profile. All my world champions has individual diary and individual profile. I remember how we started it. We wrote everything. This is your technical portfolio, and we literally start. Every athlete knows exactly whether he falls, well, in Sambo and Judo, where he falls always to the right corner or to the right front. They know statistically how more often they are losing some throws or squat in that direction, because that direction of it's individual profile. We knew with this athlete exactly where are his strengths. Once we identify some of them, I see he should never probably go back to his left corner. No, because it's a trouble there. Or his opponent will always attack him with whatever, Kochigari or Sotogari. So for you, that direction is forbidden, for example, for many various reasons. Maybe underdeveloped back or some, muscles here. You can stop working on that or can design the different tactics. But at the end of the day, for me, everything starts with individual profile. If you don't understand your profile as an athlete and as a coach, is a walking in the dark, is really walking in the dark. It's not even about collecting data about your opposition. Opposition can be different every year, especially in this sport. Even in IMAF, even in amateur MMA, you never know who is your opponent at the next world champion, because every time is a new national champion from that country or another country. But you need to be very clear and honest about yourself, who you are, what is your technical portfolio. And again, coming back to this template of 11 major areas, you need to clearly understand what is your strength in each of these 11 major blocks of MMA skills.
And speaking about that, is so at which stage you start profiling that?
Day one.
So from day one you start?
Day one, as we speak on the course, as soon as the boy or girl decides that he wants to become competitive, starts competing in national championship, it's nice. It's a work in another level. You involve your athlete to work together on his progress, on his success, and trust me, it's always appreciated. He works with you. Okay, this is me on the paper. This is how I look. This direction is wrong. This is how I have strength here. I have strength here. You need to involve him. It's not some wisdom that you tell him, okay, brother, do this, this, and this, and you will win. No, you need the feedback. It's a both ways road. So from day one, profiling and full understanding where he goes, what he develops, which techniques, and why, if something is not working, conditioning should be looking like that. Why are we doing this condition? Because everybody do these dumbbells or kettlebells? No, not. You are doing it for that reason because of something. You would put it clear for him why he is doing that particular type of conditioning or physical development which is missing. So that's the only secret, I think.
And what percentage, of course generally speaking, but what percentage of his training time since working individually working with a certain person, a certain athlete, what percentage of the training time would you dedicate to his weaknesses, and what percentage to his strengths? Because let's say we have this list of skills, so obviously, once he starts competing as a coach, I see, okay, this guy is doing this good, this maybe somewhere in the middle, and that's an area that he actually sucks. He's not his thing. So if he was doing his coaching program, how much time you dedicate to weaknesses and strengths and about that so areas?
At the beginning, it's all about attack. That's my personal attitude, and I found the same thing in coaches working on high level and successful. You cannot, we know that we learn attack and defense in working in pairs with somebody, of course, which means I will be attacking, he will be mastering his defense. But I'm not talking about his partner. Now I'm talking about him. First, he needs to think how to make most of his attacks, because you're winning not by beautifully defending, you're winning by scoring. And you need, of course, you can be counted, you will tell me. But no, for me, first priority, let's take your attack to the maximum possible level, attack. Then let's work on your defenses.
So about attack, do you constrain key position? Like in wrestling, there is this term. I hope I don't butcher it because I kind of translate from Bulgarian. We call it like key position, position that you're trying to get because from where all your attacks start, or you're concentrating on his best technique. So how you approach that?
Both. You can't apply your best technique without getting into position.
For sure. But
it's
it's just a bit different approach because key positions, let's say, gives multiple ways to attack, but you start from a certain position that you look at. So that might be, speaking about MMA and submission grappling, that'd be your Kimura grip, your guillotine grip, or in Khabib case, he grabs your legs and he knows the fight is over. He doesn't know how, he doesn't know when, but he knows. He grabs your legs, the fight is over.
Yeah, very, very tricky question. But
so that's working with key position. In the same time, some fighters they have major technique. So example for that, Ronda Rousey, she has her armbar. So she was able to achieve armbar from different positions. So also that includes key position. Obviously, over underhook and knee to shoulder. But in the same time, I believe her game was more concentrated on primary technique, A-game technique, while masters of the sport as Khabib or let's say Khabib's more obvious, is concentrated on this key position because from there he can take you down, he can strike you, he can double leg or single leg you, or he can make this wall triangle mount that he was doing. So he was using different approaches, but they all start with this key position for him, grabbing your legs. So I was just asking, what was your approach for that? So he was concentrating on key position or a technique. Of course, they overlap a bit, but in a way they have specifics.
Key position, I would say key position. Let's go back to sports as judo and sambo. Key position for you is a grip, is a combination of good grip plus positioning on the mat. It's very difficult to achieve these two things together. When you achieve it, literally you have half a second because your opponent realizes he's in danger. When you have two components, you have a grip and you have a correct movement and positioning. So that's why there's a lot of work we spent on that. Getting into position, separate form of training. You need to polish your action. Whatever is a throw, in our case it could be a strike or takedown. You need to polish it as a separate, not building its power. But getting into position is the key. Let's take judo. What do we see in judo? They want judo to be more spectacular. It means they want more throws and less getting into position. What is getting into position in judo? Permanent killing the grip. Who wants to see that? Spectators? No, they don't want to see that. Or people who drive this sport, they think, well, we don't need that. We need more action. So what they're going to do? They're going to punish the kumikata grip. Even there are ideas that they're going to start judo competition with the grip. It means that's how it started at the beginning of judo.
Really?
It started like that. Then this kumikata come into play when international competition started to come through. And now they're thinking of taking it back. So judo will start tsurite, hikite, lapel sleeve.
That's weird.
Because again,
that looks crazy to me.
Follow their logic. They want more action. So they're killing completely.
But at the same time, you kill the options.
Exactly.
Because if everyone starts from the same grip, what if you're forced to fight with your left hand or your right hand? Because you might have different fight stance.
That's why I don't follow. I cannot understand where they're going. But going back to MMA,
Well,
it's difficult.
it seems that judo has always bad ideas about changing rules. They removed
They're driven by business. They want it makes more.
they removed
more action.
the leg grips,
Yeah.
which killed a lot of judo. For at least for me, I never competed in judo just because that all of my attacks was
Yeah.
actually coming from the legs. Okay.
And going back to this idea, as you said, educating the general public. Before, really, general public was very well educated, and part of their education, they could see the intrigue, how these guys are trying to get into position, and then apply his major technique. Because, as you said, educated spectator would appreciate that. And what these two sports are killing, they're killing that game completely. Going back to MMA, it's very difficult to kill it.
Yes, well,
Very difficult. People will be working how, again, pummeling. Let's take Greco-Roman wrestling. How long and how much they're pummeling and repositioning
Most of the
themselves. Until they get into the right position and apply the throw. Yeah. A lot. Who thinks in Greco-Roman wrestling of killing that part of the game? Nobody's thinking about it. Because that will complete what? They will start the belt wrestling, will come to the belt wrestling. They will grab each other, Kuresh and begin. So these guys who are driving the combat sport internationally, sometimes they're seriously lacking of vision. Or we can see that they're driven by something different, which is revenue, more making that sport more action for spectators, so they can clap more often, and pay-per-view will go up.
I had love-hate relationship with judo. I never was able to play it, and initially the rule set was so complicated for me. I didn't even want to learn it. But because I have a lot of guys who come from heavily SAMBO background who also cross compete in judo, so I started now to understand and appreciate. But it seems that they always have bad idea about changing rules. Removing the leg grips is bad. They bring this. I hope they won't, because that will change the sport. That won't be judo anymore.
It's back in Kodokan. It's back.
That's terrible. Well, yes, but in the same time, I recently read an article that they, in some local companies in Japan, they bring the leg grips.
Kodokan bring back.
But they bring the leg grips back.
Yeah. Teguruma, which is pickup.
Yes, so it has a slight twist, so you cannot go for two hands on the legs.
One.
But if you have one leg up, you can go, which I think it's good. Good idea.
Which was all the syllabus which Zigara Kano invented.
Absolutely.
First 15 throws.
Well, I think it's ridiculous. Judo is the art of taking someone down. To take out of the possible techniques, let's say the easiest takedown, the most common sense downs. So this is not combo sport anymore. I mean, the combo sport, at least by definition, should come down to an effectiveness. And so this guy Stefan that I told you about, who became a very good grappler, he's now in London, living in not in London, in Switzerland. He was in London, he moved to Switzerland, living and training. So he has no problems with the wrestling guys, because he knew how to defend the legs. He knew that come, and he was expecting that. But after the change of the rules, the guys who come after, they had problems, with dealing with the wrestling attacks, because they never saw them. So the thing is, he was very good he loved to fight with wrestlers, because for him, they was doing expected things. They have less options to attack him. While the guys who came who weren't judoing in the new way after changing the rules, they had big problems with the rest, because they lack the skills, to deal with their attacks. Anyway, something that I think there was no time to touch was about the grading system in IMF. Something that is actually, I was a bit skeptical about it. I started to use and apply it already few years. I think more than 8 years. First time when I was introduced to when we met, and I have very good results from it. I just wanted to see how it's going, just to take your input about it.
Well, let's go. First of all, where it's coming from. If mixed martial arts is Martial arts. Well, we obviously want to reinstate the same culture. The certain culture of martial arts is a progress, how the athlete is progressing. In the early days, it was only by winning, by beating someone. It's called the competitive grading. You need to throw 5 people by ippon. Now you grade it to the next level, by black belt. Good. Nothing else except your competitive, really fighting skills. The truth is the generation is different these days. Everything changed. And 90% or 90% of members in the clubs, in MMA clubs, they would never go in the cage. Never. They don't have this competitive spirit. They're coming there for many various reasons why they joined the MMA club. So what is there for them? How are you going to, what's appraisal for them? How are you going to praise their progress? At least by skills, okay? Skills, that's why in our course we talk a lot, okay guys? This is a set of skills, but what is the progression from very simple to the most complicated one? So if you learn the most simple, this is your first grade, whatever is yellow or white belt or wristband, we use many things. If you learn more complicated version, that is your next level. At least that's the indication or appreciation of their progress in the sport. Though, as again, I repeat it, they would never go for any fighting. At least you keep them satisfied, not happy, satisfied. They're coming not only for sweat or in the club, but they want to have some visible, tangible evidence of their achievement, particularly small kids. It's for everybody, for their kudos, for their ego, for their parents, for their friends. So I think it works, and it really works. As soon as the mindset of national federation is really set on that idea, it starts producing fantastic results. We have thousands in Mexico. We have thousands in Spain already, India. The people took this idea on board, and they're very successful. They're very successful.
Well, I presented my version of it before this seminar, and I actually involved that because my team is mostly competitive, and I had great success with involving this with competition achievements and distributing also like structuring in my own gym, because now I have like 30 people on the mats, and without that it's kind of a mess. And now I say, okay, like white belts or like yellow grades this side, the others there. So now I have an easy way, to split the class if I need to. And also, I as you know, the way I presented it is to you is I combine the grade with competition achievement, so they know, okay, so this I have to do as minimum to be able to go on competition. So when I give yellow grade, this means, okay, you can compete now. Before that, you don't have enough skills, won't be fun, okay, you have to keep learning. Then, not to repeat whatever I give you, but this bit by bit, you progress by competition achievements, but in the same time, that also forces guys who excel in competition to cover certain technical requirements to progress on the next level. So it works both ways. First, that gives guys a target as a technical minimum that I establish for them to go to compete. And then the guys who compete, in order to progress into the grading system, they have to cover certain technical aspect, which helps me in my structure, in my syllabus, to cover certain areas, because the belts that I gave to someone also mean for me, okay, this guy knows this part of my syllabus. These guys know this part. For example, if I give yellow grade to someone, he knows to do takedowns, single and double. He knows to defend on his back. He knows to do a couple of submissions on his back. And he knows basically to strike and do a couple of combos. He's good to do his first competition. And of course, it goes slightly sophisticated, like up and up. So I was very skeptical about it, because I never was defending belts, though I have like now I collected a couple of black belts from here and there, whatever. But I never appreciated them. But now, so when actually you introduce this to that, and I say, okay, if I'm going to do that, how I'm going to use that? And I come to that system that I present to you. And then it happens that it works very well. So you can actually use that even in very competitive team that might happen to be.
I agree with you, I agree. But again, it's all about the sequence, from simple to most complicated. Even today we spoke in the course, what is the sequence of introduction of defensive moves to the kids or whatever, athletes. What are we learning first? Block. We're learning first a block as a most simple way of defense. They will need it in their life. It's called bracing. Whatever happens, they can close their head and protect the head, okay? They learn it as a defense from hook, from jab, from cross, nice. Or from the leg, they check, the so-called check. It's a simple block. That is the beginning. It is in yellow belt, nice. You know, you can protect yourself in a basic situation if you even don't want to compete. What is next? More complicated, slipping and sliding. Slipping and sliding, you know, all these things. That should be learned, not from the day one, of course, somewhere in the middle. And what is the last? The last is when you play with the distance. You really pull yourself away or break the disc, close the distance. That's the art of defense. Big masters don't do unnecessary moves. They just use the distance and that's it. And make fool of you. You do your attack and never hit the target. So that's a high end. That's black belt. That's brown belt. Purple belt on that end. So it is in everything, as you said. First, simple and most common takedowns. Double, single. That's much more complicated. Further on is your green belt, blue belt, up to black belt. So all that techniques in all 11 areas of major skills of MMA are structured so they start with yellow belt as an introduction to the concept or some simple version of that move up to the high end, let's say most complicated at the last end where it's time to, for example, brown belt. And when somebody has learned the all skills of MMA in such a structured way, there's nothing wrong that he has a brown belt and never competed. Nothing wrong with that. But he understands the game. That's most important.
Yeah, and also on the course, during the off time of the course, you mentioned quite a few interesting projects that come of MMF. Would you like to give a brief overview on all that? So we already mentioned the eventual pro league. There was other interesting stuff that coming down the pipe.
Masters probably.
Yeah.
Because there's a call for, as in every martial arts, I don't know, there are people who are still hungry for a bit of competing, though they are old or maybe they missed their chance in their young days or whatever. So we will do the pilot this time in Serbia at the European Championship in February next year. We introduce the age division of masters, same as everywhere, same as in Judo, as in SAMBO, as in all other combat sports. 40, 45 years, 45, 50, 50, 55. They have in marking that's called M1, M2, M3, like in every sport. There will be no headshots because it's too dangerous for this, people. First of all, they haven't been training for quite a time, but they still have enthusiasm, so they can apply body shots, wrestling moves, takedowns, and ground and pound to the body, not to the head. And so this is format which resembles the youth rules in the meantime.
Yeah, I see that. Would it be limited to people with no professional experience, I assume?
I do think so. It will be unfair to mix them
I
up
assume
with,
that.
well, somebody would have, a few fights in PFL or Bellator and then retired, and then he want to come to this competition. He will, in any condition, he will destroy everybody there. He will destroy.
Yeah.
So it's a building the fan base, because these masters are our these people who understand the game, who are still involved. It's our fan base, of international fan base of this sport. They're supporters. They will bring their kids, their relatives. They will be spectators at our events, They will be supporting some local athletes, local fighters. By only one simple reason: they do understand this sport, and they enjoy watching it and be part of it. So that's probably the most interesting project to come in February.
You also mentioned as a project that referee team of IMF are working very hard on some which is very touchy subject in MMA, the rule set.
Well, it's not yet. I know it's going to be a big war on that. It's going to be
Oh, I
big war.
expect
So,
that, yeah.
but very briefly, one comment. To be included in international circuits such as Olympic Games or fully recognized sport or some regional or indoor games or some regional games, the scoring criteria has to become more clear and transparent, or I would say understandable. Nobody will, of course, somebody will accuse me. They are transparent and clear for referees. If not for coach, then for them it's clear and transparent. Fine, I can accept that. What about spectators? They need to really follow the fight. They need to really follow. We have so many arguments between coaches who think that guy won because of X, Y, and Z, and the other coach, he said, no, my boy won the fight because he did that, and better. Coaches do not have a common understanding. What are we talking about? Spectators, they are lost completely when they watch MMA fight, unless there's a clean swipe out or knockout or armbar, then everything is clear. But when it comes to split decisions or winning by points,
It's always a war.
It's always a war in their head, first of all. So we need to. What I'm saying right now, we will be doing something about it. We have to do it, otherwise, our road is not that optimistic.
Well, we see what will come about that. I hope, hopefully, it won't change sport so much. I really hope it's going to be done in the right way, so it just make it more clear, but not change. Andrey, something that you think we should cover, but we didn't, by your opinion?
I think for first time is enough.
Yeah, well, if you want to, plug in things that the ways people can follow you on or get in touch with you if you want.
Right. Yeah, always.
Your Instagram eventually.
Yeah, you can find me there on Instagram, on Facebook, of course. Yeah.
Okay, I'll put links to your socials. And in the end, thank you so much for this additional time. Thank you for the lessons once again. It's for me, it's always a great pleasure to learn from you, and I highly appreciate that, as you know. And I just want to add that so even myself being fourth time on this course, and I saw it progressing from the first time that you actually applied that program in Australia, which was like a warning course online, which was actually quite hard. We had a test at the end. It was not like today, but this course that we just finished was, by my opinion, well structured, very clear from information, was way more practical. I think was way more useful for majority of the coaches. I see that you actually clear it from, you put enough theory but just like a highlights and go straight to useful things, which I think was very very well accepted from the coaches. Like they of course, someone gets that or someone gets that, something else, but I think all of them, they got a lot of good ideas and tips to improve their coach. So I just want to say that this course was the best one of the ones that I participated with you, and I hope it won't be the last. I am expecting the next one when we meet each other one more time. Thank you so much,
Sure.
Andrey.
Thank you, my pleasure. All the best.